Alright guys, welcome back. In this video we're going to have a look at the basics of Blood Bowl in the game Blood Bowl 2. This is a pretty fun game that I've been playing a little bit. By a little bit I mean, you know, a little bit in terms of I play games a lot, and for me this is a little bit. What I'm going to go over in this video is just the basics of Blood Bowl. You know, how we can understand the basic statistics of the players, making a team, and then we're just going to play a quick game against the AI in the Eternal League, which is a nice solo play option the game has. So first things we do is we're going to go to play in a league, and we're going to go to create a team. Okay, let's create. And here we get the selection of all the different teams. There are a lot of different teams. Orcs, Dwarves, Skaven. Okay, there we go. So a lot of different teams, a lot of different ways to play. I'm going to make a human team because I think it's a good way just to show the basics. They can do a bit of everything, and so in that way we can show the different facets of the game without having to focus on playing just one way. So we're going to press next. I'm going to make a team name. We're going to call it Game Education. Team motto will be show me some Blood Bowl, baby. No, baby. Let's choose a team logo. We can't see it on the players there actually. If you look closely, let's do this one. This is nice. We can choose some colors for the team. Yeah, this one looks nice. Silvery with some red spikes. Okay. Get a stadium. You can choose different stadiums. This is for when you play at home. It just changes the decor really of where you play. The Under Empire. Rat Men Aren't Real. That's the name of the stadium. Then we get this automatic option where the game will essentially make your team for you, and I would say just press no because the game is quite complex, and it's better if we understand the game enough to make our own team by ourselves. So let's press no. Okay, so here we go. This is the team building screen, and we have 5 different player options that we can buy. Every time we make a team, we start with 1,000 gold. Now, it says 1,000k, but when everything is k, then the k is irrelevant. So I'm not going to say 1 million. I'm just going to say 1,000. If it says 50k here, I'm not going to say 50,000. I'm just going to say 50. I'll see the point in saying the 1,000 or k if we don't need to. And then we have the team roster, maximum of 16 players, and each type of player also has a maximum. So playing as humans, we cannot just have a team full of ogres. We can actually only have 1 ogre, 4 blitzers, 2 throwers, 4 catchers, and up to 16 linemen. Of course, it counts all of these into a maximum of 16 anyway. And every team needs a minimum of 11 players when they are created. So let's have a look first at the players and the attributes or the statistics that they get. So if we just click on the lineman here, we see the 4 main statistics, which are movement allowance, strength, agility, and armor value. Now movement allowance is fairly simple in that it just tells you how many squares your player can move. Pretty easy. Strength is a little bit more complex. Now one of the things that kind of confused me when I started playing the game was that you think of strength, you think strong. And when you think strong, you think hits harder. But in Blood Bowl, that's not actually the case. Strength doesn't make a player hit harder. The way we use strength in basic terms, okay, I'm not going to talk about every single application of every attribute here because this is just the basics. So the basics of strength are that we use this as a number that we measure against another player's strength number when we want to block them. And in Blood Bowl, blocking is when we try to knock over another player. And so if we are stood next to another player, or our player is stood next to another player, and that means directly next to one square, they are both next to each other. And we click on our player, we click on the opposing player. This is blocking or trying to block. And what happens is we have to roll dice. And what strength does is it affects how many dice you can roll when you do this. So if your strength is the same as your opponent's, you can roll a 6-sided dice once. And the 6-sided die has 5 outcomes. 6 sides, 5 outcomes. Yeah, I know. And so if we think about it in terms of numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we roll a 1, we get a skull. And the skull basically means you try to knock this player down, but actually your player gets knocked down instead, and your turn is over. This is the worst result you can get, which is a 1. In many dice rolling fantasy games, a 1 is a natural fail, and in this case it's the same too. If we roll a 2, this is a both down result, which also has a skull on it. And this means that your player is knocked down and the opposing player is knocked down too. But if your player is knocked down, your turn is again over. And then 3 and 4 are the push result, where you just push the opposing player back into one of 3 squares. Pretty meh. Can be used to open gaps in the line, but if we're trying to punch someone, it's not really the best outcome. 5 then is what's called a defender stumbles, and barring the opposing player having the dodge skill, this will knock the opposing player down. And then 6 is what's called a POW. And POW means the other player is knocked down 100%, no escape, nothing like that. They are down on the ground. And when we knock an opposing player down, we then use this other attribute, armor value, or the opposing player uses their armor value. And what this means is when we knock them down, we get to roll 2 6-sided dice. And I'm going to stop saying 6-sided dice. I'm just going to say d6 from now on. Okay, so we get to roll 2d6. And if our result of this 2d6 is higher than the armor value, it has to be higher, not equal. So in this case, it would have to be a 9, 10, 11, or 12. Then in this case, we get something called an armor break. And armor break means that the opposing player gets one of 3 results. They can be stunned, they can be knocked out, and they can be injured. Stunned just means they are stuck on the floor. They can't act next turn, so they miss a turn. This player misses a turn. Knocked out means off the pitch, can wake up and come back. And then injured means injured off the pitch, won't come back for the rest of the game, and may suffer further injury to their statistics. They might have to miss next game. They might lose some strength or agility or armor value or movement allowance. They might even be dead. Lots of things can happen in the injured scenario. Now there's a much higher chance for the player to be stunned than the other results. And so that's how we use our strength. Now if we actually have higher strength than our opponent, we don't only roll 1d6. So if we are strength 3 against a strength 2 player and we block them, we will actually get to roll 2d6 for this blocking result. And we don't get both results, we just get to choose which result we take. So in this case, if we roll a 1d6 and we get a skull, well that's pretty bad, we don't want that. But if we roll 2d6 and one of them is a skull and one of them is a POW, which is a knockdown, then we can just choose the POW, and we don't take the skull. The skull is discarded. And so pretty much everything we do in this game is based on dice, other than just moving a player. The only thing that doesn't take dice is moving a player. So just moving the player, I just noticed now that this has the the wrong emblem there, but I guess that's just a bug. So everything in the game takes dice other than moving your player, so it's a very, very random game. And you can be a really good player and get terrible dice and lose to a player that's just kind of average at the game because they got pretty good dice. Now, it's not going to happen a lot, but it can happen if you play enough, and it will happen if you play enough. So that's something that we try to bear in mind, is that this is a game based on probability, and so a lot of the game is based around increasing reliability more so than anything else. And so in the case where we can choose to either block an opponent with 1 die or 2d6, we always want to choose the 2d6 if we can get it, because we're going to have higher reliability, less chance of getting an outcome that is bad for us. Now, if we can actually get more than double an opponent's strength when we try to block them, we can even roll 3d6. Now, it's not so easy to get, but it can be done. And most of the time we're going to do this not by just having one really high strength player, but by using assists. And so if we take the situation again where I'm using this 3 strength player to block a 2 strength opponent, if I can bring in 2 other players into the squares around my opponent, each of those players will give me what's called an assist. And this gives me +1 strength to the calculation for how many dice I will roll for this blocking. So if I bring in 2 more, and each one provides a +1 assist to my strength, that will take my strength to 5, and 5 is more than double the 2 strength of my hypothetical opponent, in which case I will get to roll 3d6, and this is incredibly more reliable than 2d6. 2d6 you could still roll 2 skulls, okay? It's not very likely, but it happens enough. Rolling 3 die, the probability of rolling 3 skulls is incredibly low. Not that it doesn't happen, but it's much lower, and so we're just increasing reliability by doing this. Now, there are some drawbacks, of course. If you're moving 3 players into one position around an enemy player, you are in some ways giving up pressure on the rest of the pitch. So there is some kind of balance to be had with that. And then there is one further situation we can encounter with strength, which is when we have lower strength than our opponent and we try to block them. So if I use this lineman to try and block a 4 strength opponent, for example, I would still roll 2 die, interestingly, but the die would be red colored. I don't know, it's not red colored, they would be red colored, absolutely 100% red. And in this situation then, although we roll 2 dice, it's our opponent that gets to choose which outcome happens. So if we roll a skull and a POW with these 2 red die, our opponent is not going to choose the POW for their player to be knocked down. They're going to choose the skull for our player to be knocked down. And so this is even less reliable than rolling just a 1 dice. So most of the time we don't want to do that unless there are specific circumstances, or we're just incredibly desperate. So then we get the last skill I'm going to talk about, which is agility. And agility is used for pretty much all the things we do with the ball. So that means picking up the ball. This affects the d6 and which numbers count as being successful or not. Again, for every single thing we do in the game, we have to roll dice. Every single thing. You want to pick up the ball with agility 3, you have to roll a 1d6. And if you get 3 or more, you will pick up the ball. If you roll a 1 or a 2, your player will fumble the ball, drop it, and actually there will be a turnover. Your turn will be over, and it'll be your opponent's turn. So if we want to throw the ball, it's the same. If we want to dodge, we also use the agility skill. And dodging is when we are next to an opponent and they are able to block us, or we are able to block them, but we don't want to do that. We do want to move away from them. And so moving out of a tackle zone we can't do that for free. We have to do a dodge, and a dodge requires us to roll on agility. Now, having higher agility makes that easier. It means you don't have to roll as high to get it. With agility 3, we would have to roll 3 or more on the 1d6 to get it. On a 1 or a 2, we would fail and be knocked down by the player that we are trying to run away from. And again, our turn would be over. Having 4 agility means we succeed on anything other than a 1, which is really nice. But we don't have 4 agility, we have 3 agility. And so that's the dice we have to deal with when playing with 3 agility players, as we are with humans. Now, your players can get experience, although in this game experience is called SPP. It works pretty much the same way as any RPG. You get the limit threshold for that level, and your player levels up, and they can get all different kinds of outcomes. And even when you level up, you have to roll dice for what your player can get when they level up. And that's these things we see here: general, agility, passing strength, and mutation. Mutation is grayed out because it's absolutely not available for this player when they level up. General is always available, and then agility, passing, and strength are available if we roll doubles on the die. So if we roll 2 1s, if we roll 2 2s, and so on. You know what a double is. We can even increase the values of movement, strength, agility, and armor value if we roll doubles that get us, I think, 10, 11, or 12. Then we will have these options available to us, which is one of the best outcomes in many cases, as having higher strength then allows you to get more dice for blocking. Higher agility makes you dodge, pick up the ball, throw the ball easier. More movement lets your player move further. And so in these cases, for example, with movement allowance, being able to move further than your opponent's players means if you have the ball and they can't catch you, there's no way for them to stop you from scoring. So let's now look at the different player types. So we have 1,000 gold to spend, and we need 11 players. So I'm going to buy an ogre, 4 blitzers, a thrower, a catcher. Let's say 3, 4, 5. Sorry, why did I start on 3? 4 linemen. This gives us 170 gold left, and so I'm going to press confirm here. This takes us to this screen where we get these extra options for our team. Now, the only ones we really need to care about are team reroll and apothecary. Team reroll lets us reroll the dice for any action, as long as it hasn't already been rerolled by a skill. And apothecary lets us re-roll the injury result if one of our players gets injured. So if our best player gets knocked down, gets the armor broken, gets the injury result where they are dead, then we can in fact re-roll that injury result, and maybe we'll get something less bad than death, such as just being injured or just missing next game or something like that. But for the very first game, most of the time we won't take apothecary. We'll just try to take rerolls, as many rerolls as we can after we have our 11 players. And that's because after team creation, rerolls double in their cost. So it's only 50,000. Damn, I said I wasn't going to say 1,000, right? It's only 50. It's only 50 in team creation, but after we play our first game, that goes up to 100 if we want to buy more. So there's a lot of value in buying the team rerolls in team creation rather than later. Whereas apothecary does not go up in value, it will still be 50 in the next game or any time after that. So once that's done, we press done. Show me some Blood Bowl, baby. So here's our human team, and I will just talk quickly about some of these skills because we will be using them in the match anyway. So with the blitzer here has block, and it says here this prevents the the roll of 2, which is both players down, from knocking this player down. So if I block with this player against a player that does not have block, and I get the both down result, I can take that as just knocking my opponent down and not me. So this basically gives one more option on the dice that knocks the opposing player down within a certain situation, which is very nice. So we can use these players for knocking enemy players down. The thrower gets skills that allow him to reroll picking up the ball if he fails it, and also reroll passing the ball if he fails to pass it. Now, there is one kind of caveat with this, is that with these re-rolling skills, if we fail in the action and we use this skill to re-roll that action, we cannot then use a team re-roll. Again, we can't re-roll something 3 times. So if it fails and it fails on the re-roll again, that's it. Turns over. Your thrower dropped the ball or fumbled the ball, and you're out of luck. Too bad. The catcher has the dodge skill, and this basically allows him to take the blocking die roll of defender stumbles, which is when it's against himself, as just being a push. So we're removing one of the player down options from our opponent when they try to block this player. And then he also has catch, which again is a reroll skill for catching. Now he does only have strength 2, which means he's not going to be great for blocking by himself, but he can still provide a +1 assist just fine, and he does have a very nice movement allowance of 8, which allows him to move very far and outrun other players. We see here he does also have access to agility skills without having to roll doubles when he levels up. And this is true for every player. They all have access to different level up skills. So make sure you look when you are buying the player, or just for your own ideas of customization. So this is the team created. And actually, there is one more thing with the ogre that is worth explaining. This is what's called a big guy. And all big guys have a negative trait. And these negative traits, essentially, in their most basic form, mean they have to roll a dice, a 1d6, before they can do something. And if they roll a 1, they fail, and they can't do anything at all. Sometimes this has extra effects, for example with Bonehead. If he rolls a 1 and he gets the Bonehead, he basically forgets what he's doing, and he doesn't even have a tackle zone around him. So players can move right past him in the squares next to him because he's not even trying to stop them anymore, which is a bit of a problem. Now he does also have Mighty Blow, and this just allows him, when he knocks down other players, to get the armor break or the injury easier. He gets a +1 to one of those rolls. But essentially, if we look at it in a simple way, Mighty Blow means he hits harder. Strength doesn't mean hits harder. And sorry. Then we have Loner, and Loner basically means that if this guy fails one of his rolls, we would have to roll a dice before we could use a reroll. And what that really means is we don't want to use our team rerolls on this player. If he fails doing something, well, too bad, he's failed it. So we're going to want to use him most of the time last. We want to use all our other players before we use him, if we can, if it's prudent to do so. So let's jump into a match now. So we go to our team and we press join a league. We're going to join the Eternal League. This is basically just well, like it says on the tin, an Eternal League against AI teams. So we press OK. We're going to join the Autumn Championships. So we just press register. Now the game will actually create all the other teams. Okay, and here we are against Norse. And we can have a click here, and we can have a look at their team. We can have a look at their players, and we can click on them to have a look at their skills and their stats if we like. We can see how many rerolls they have. Okay, so let's just press start match. Here we have the inducement screen, and this is only relevant if one team has a higher team value or much higher team value than the other, where if my opponent's team has a much higher team value than me, then I can buy some of these things here. I can buy extra rerolls, a wizard, bribes, all kinds of interesting stuff, star players, but they can be a bit expensive. And so if my opponent's team is 260 team value higher than my own, then I would have 260 gold to spend for free. And so I could buy this player, for example, this star player, Mighty Zug, for 260. It wouldn't cost me any of my own gold to do so. The problem is though that these players don't stay on your team, so any experience they gain, any SPP they gain during the match will be lost, where that could have gone onto your own players, which is a slight drawback. But these star players do tend to come with much better either stats or skills than other normal players. Now, there isn't much difference between the two team values, so I'm not going to take anything. I'm just going to press OK. Get the 10-second timer now. Okay, here we go. So at the start of the game, there's a 50% chance that either you will get to choose to be on defense or offense, or your opponent will get to choose to be on offense or defense. And essentially what this means is, who is going to receive the ball first, who will get their turn first and the other player second. I'm going to choose offense. That means I get to go first. That means I get the ball first. And we have a timer for our turn. Every time it's our turn, we get 3 minutes to do all the things we want to do with our players. And then we have to end our turn and it's the opponent's turn. So the way it works is we move all our players. We do all the things we want with our players before our opponent, then they get to do the same thing. Now this is just the setup. This is not the actual turn. So what we do here is, because we get to go first, we get to hit our opponent first too. And so in most cases then, we want to have enough players on this front line here, which is called the line of scrimmage, to be able to hit our opponents and hopefully get those 2 dice for the blocking rather than just 1 dice. And the ball will land somewhere in this area. Actually, it could really land anywhere, but we want to have players ready to go and pick up the ball and defend the ball. And we also want to consider having some way to stop opposing players from coming into our side of the pitch to pick up the ball or hit our ball carrier. So there are a few different things really that we need to think about. So I'm going to keep my ogre on the front middle here. I'm going to put a blitzer here because he has block. He's good at blocking. Another one here. And let's put another lineman here. And that's a blitzer. Let's put this lineman here. And I'm just doing it now without explaining so it can be done quickly. This one here. Or even here. And the same for him here. Okay, good. So now it's done, I can talk a bit. Actually, I might just put these 2 catchers like... No, catcher and thrower. So catcher forward a bit. I want the thrower to be the one who picks up the ball, hopefully. So he's going to be a bit back. Remember, he has the sure hand skill, so picking up the ball is easier for him. Now, for blocking here and getting the 2 dice, one of the problems we encounter is that players that are in an enemy tackle zone, if they don't have any skills, don't give an assist. So this player actually won't assist blocking this player because he's in the tackle zone, which is 1 square around this player here. Whereas this player, not being in these squares, can assist this blitzer in blocking here. So now we get 2 die with him, we get 2 die with him, and then we'll be able to get 2 die easily with the remaining players here. Okay, so now my opponent kicks. We get these random events that happen whenever we get the turnover or the start of a the start of a drive. So this changed the weather from stormy to normal. The ball lands here. And so, now basically what we have to think about is, how do I make the ball safe? How can I knock down some of my opponents easily, or shuffle them around in a way that's good for me? And how can I prevent them from getting to the ball? Because if they can get to the ball here and then score, then we're losing, right? So we need to think about this. So let's first of all not use the ogre. Let's use the blitzer here on this lineman, and we click, we see we get the 2 dice spinning, and we get +1 strength from the assist here. I press OK. This is the POW, this is the push. Let's press, and we can choose which square he gets pushed into. Let's push him here next to the ogre, and we can choose to follow into the square here or stay. Let's stay. POW. Now the reason I'm staying here now is because we have the tackle zone around the player, like this, these squares here. So these squares here are not easy to run through, and then we have a player here who also has these tackle zones here. So there's an overlapping zone here where enemy players cannot just run through into the middle. They would have to take out this player, or take out this player first, or try to run around. It's hard to run this far around when you don't have very high movement allowance. And these linemen only have 6. He has 7, but that's still not enough to get all the way around. So let's finish blocking here, the same thing. Okay, we only get pushed this time. Let's push him next to the ogre. And again, we'll stay for the same reason. Okay. And now I can continue blocking with these linemen if I like. There is an issue though. This lineman on the opposing team has block, which means if we roll a 1, a skull, and a 2, a both down, then I'm kind of out of luck, because my opponent has block, will negate the both down for himself, but not for me, in which case my turn will be over and the ball will be in a very risky position. So why don't we try to move this player here and move this player here, and we'll see if we can pick up the ball with the catcher, if we can. But I would say even this pickup is still a little bit less risky than the 2 die block here. So let's see if we can do that. That's a 1 die. That's a 2 die. That's a 1 die. So let's see if we can block with him here. 2 die. What do we get? We get the both down on the skull. Like I said, this is a bad one. But we can use a team reroll to fix this. So let's see if that works. Okay, we get the defender stumbles, so he will be knocked down now. Let's put him here. Let's follow. So our player is here next to these 2 players now. And we can block with this lineman here as well for the 2 die. Or I could try to do it with my ogre. But let's try to pick up before the time is up first. Okay, that's nice. So let's put the thrower behind my players here, where it's a bit safer. Let's move the catcher up, and we'll see if we can get the catcher into a nice advantageous position here. And let's block here. Running out of time, 1 second left. Let's just push here and follow. And let's see if we can blitz Oh, I ran out of time. So we would want to blitz every turn if we can. But trying to explain and everything can sometimes take up the time. Not a big deal. I'll try to show it next turn. So the play I'm trying to go for here is protect the ball carrier, which is my thrower. Try to get my my catcher, into range of being able to get a touchdown. And then we'll throw the ball to the catcher. Hopefully the catcher will catch it. And then we will run for the touchdown. So the AI is moving their players onto the right side here. What I might want to consider here now is a kind of a shift in focus to the left side instead. Now, just because I want to throw it to my catcher doesn't mean I have to. My catcher has dodge, so this defender stumbles outcome actually doesn't knock him down. That's how the skill works. So the whole team is kind of bunched up in this area here now. And so in this case, we're kind of wide open on the left side. So what we can do now is try to block in the enemy team while also moving the ball up this left side if we can. So let's see if we can first free our ogre, and then we'll try to move the ogre around to provide a kind of blocking force. So we'll take the 2 die here. We get the knockdown. Let's push him over this way. That's further away from this side. And let's follow. Okay. Now the ogre is free. And he can move around here. I'm not going to move him just yet though. Remember, the ogre still has to roll to do anything before he can do it. Which is, let's say, an issue. But looking at the rest here, let's see which players are not in an enemy tackle zone. We'll try to move them first. So let's move this blitzer around to the left side here. How far can he get? Looks like he can just sit on this tackle zone here, which will prevent this player from moving without having to dodge out. So this is called basing, and essentially by doing this, we make it so that this player can't just freely move to try to attack the ball carrier, has to choose between trying to block my player or dodging. So they have to roll dice to do something. Let's put this one, let's say, how far can he move? Okay. So we're going to use this guy as a kind of screen. And we're going to put him here. He is going to come around and I'm going to put him on this corner here. And now we'll move the ogre, and hopefully the ogre will actually move. Actually, you know what? Let's not move the ogre here. We can put the ogre into contact with 3 players here, which would be quite nice, I think. We see this 2+ bonehead, so as long as we don't roll 1, he will move. Okay, good. He did move. That's nice. Let's move the ball carrier to here. Let's block with this guy with the 2 die. Okay, we get the both down, but both players have block or we have a push. So let's just push him into here and let's follow. So we are still causing some problems here. We can get a 1 die here. Don't really want to leave my catcher here, so I would want to dodge him out if possible. Maybe put him on the sideline here. That's one option. And that way there's still an option to throw to if I want. But first I'm going to see if I can put my blitzer here. And I still have I do have a 2 die here, so what we do is we can choose Blitz. We do get the POW. We'll knock him forwards. What I was going to do here is try to dodge out, and let's see if it works. So let's stay. He gets knocked down. We have to roll a 3 to dodge out. Oh, just not enough time with these 3-minute turns. So in this case, this player here could have actually run and gone for the blitz on my thrower. What blitz allows us to do basically is to run or move to an opponent and block them in the same turn. But we can only choose one player to block per turn. Now the AI is kind of, let's say, unintelligent and is choosing to blitz my catcher and not really focusing so much on trying to block my thrower here. So the Ulf Verner here, okay, because he has Frenzy, he gets to block twice. And because he has Strength 4 against my Strength 3 player, every time he does that, he gets to roll 2 dice. So now when we look at the situation here, there are 4 players on this side here. And there is a little bit of an opening or a gap in the center there, but there's still 2 players here. We have 2 players knocked down. So what we can do is we can just click on them and tell them to stand up. And this is like, whenever we have our turn, we try to take the actions that don't require any dice to be rolled. And those dice are standing up players and moving players that are, not next to an enemy player. So let's move this lineman and let's put him, that would be going for it. We can move further than our normal allowance. These are the dice here that are further than that. And the dice means you have to roll a dice to do it. So I could move here, but I would have to roll a 1d6 and not roll a 1 to be able to do that. It's much safer. No, I can't even reach that one. So this is a blitzer. We could get a 1 die here. Let's see if we can use the ogre. Now the ogre has strength 5 against a strength 4. He will get the 2 die. The blocker here has strength 3. With the assist here, gets him up to 4. But that is equal to this player's 4. We only get 1 die. Let's see if the ogre will not roll a 1 on the bonehead. Okay, and we get the stumble. Let's move there. Let's follow with the ogre. Down that player goes. And now actually both of these players are free to move, which is very nice. So let's move this one here. Let's move this one. Now how far can we get here? Okay. We have the catcher here who doesn't really have any way to get through this line here. So what we're doing is we're just trying to tie up the players here, which is fine, and see if we can move up the left side. So let's move the lineman. Let's say, how far can he get? Let's try moving him here. Let's use this blitzer to actually blitz in our turn. First blitz, because we've been talking so much. And then we get the 2 die, thanks to the assist here. Okay, we get the POW. And let's follow. And now because I followed, I'm now assisting this player against this one here. So we can again get the 2 die. And we can use this for the knockdown. Let's push him. Let's push him here. And let's follow. Oh, and there we go. We got an armor break, and then we rolled to get the knockout. So he's off the pitch now in the knockout box over here. So now we do have 2 players still here, and we have a blitzer. If we try to block against these guys, because they have the same strength and the 1 assist, take it up to 4. His strength is 3. We get the red dice. That's no good for us. Let's try to dodge the catcher out. Failed the dodge. Gets knocked down. That's what it looks like. Nope. Enemy player failed their dodge roll. And because they're attacking this way, they're trying to push my player off the pitch. This is a valid strategy. If we push the player off the pitch, then they are put into the reserves box if they don't get injured from it. And that way, there is then 1 less player on the pitch. But if we attack from this angle, like here, the player can be pushed back rather than off the pitch. So we have to be attacking directly facing the offside of the pitch. Okay. So we've got 3 players here. Let's try to free some up. Let's use the blitzer here. And let's block him this way. Okay, we got the knockdown. We'll push him that way. And we will follow. And now we have 2 free players. So let's stand up this blitzer here. Let's put a lineman in the way here. Let's use our blitzer. We could take a 1 die on this guy here, although it's a little bit risky, the 1 die. What we would do first then is try to stand our players up. Do all the things that are less risky first. I probably should have done these even before doing this. The reason for that is, you know, we can take the 2 die block and we can get 2 skulls. Okay, that's fine. If we have rerolls left, we use the rerolls and we get those dice again. But we can get 2 skulls again. It's very unlikely, but it does happen. And when that happens then, you have no option but to take the skull. Your player gets knocked down and your turn is over. So all your other players that could have done something, that could have just stood up without having to roll a dice, now actually are still on the floor, and so you're in this, you know, really weak position because you didn't do the reliable things first. So that's what we generally try to want to focus on. Now this player isn't in a tackle zone now, so I will move him back around this way. See if we can try to get him into some position. We have the lineman here who can block. We have the ogre who can block. But if I block with the ogre, or try to use the ogre, and he rolls a 1 on Bonehead, he won't even be providing a tackle zone to prevent this player from moving. So in many cases, with these big guys, the most reliable thing you can do with them is to not do anything with them at all. Sounds kind of funny, right? But it really is like that. So let's take the 1 die against this player here and see how that goes. Let's go here. Let's blitz. If it's bad, we can re-roll it. Okay, we get the knockdown. That's fine. Let's push him this way. And let's follow too. And we'll move the thrower to here. And then on the next turn, he will actually be movement 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we could roll for 1 GFI to go there. Now the reason I want to put him here is, at least if he gets knocked down, he's in some radius of these players who might be able to either assist with the block, or, you know what, let's Let's put him one closer. Even if he gets knocked down, he's close enough to the other players anyway. And this way, on the next turn, he can actually just run for the touchdown if there's nothing in the way. So I'm not going to block with the Ogre. I don't want to risk this player being able to move for free. So we're just going to leave it as it is. Okay, here is the... Yep, he dodged out. He goes for the... Okay, and he gets the defender stumbles outcome. This guy gets knocked down. He drops the ball. He's also stunned. Ball scatters to here. This player fails to dodge. And this is why we want to use our players to try and tie up enemy players. Now they did re-roll it, and they did then get the pickup. But the opposing team now has no re-rolls. Knocked out one of my players, which is unfortunate. Opposing team now has no re-rolls. So anything they fail now is just a fail. If they get double skulls, too bad, your turn's over. If they try to dodge and fail, too bad, your turn's over. And, you know, so on like this. Oh dear. 3 stuns and 1 knockout in 1 turn is not great. This is some bad dice for me. It's okay, we still have 1, 2, 3, 4 turns. We do have the ball in the enemy half, not so far away from the touchdown line. You know, just because these bad things happen doesn't mean it's over. So let's see what our options are. We could blitz here for the 1 die. We still have the Ogre as well on the Ulf Verna here. But again, using him and rolling that 1 means he wouldn't actually be doing anything, which could be a problem. We have 1 lineman here. And this lineman actually is free to move and could provide an assist here to get the 2 die block if the Ogre can knock over the Ulf Verna. This guy can stand up. And we would then get the 2 die here as well. And if we knock this guy over, or we at least move here, we are then in the zone, or the tackle zone of this player. He won't be able to move without having to dodge first. Can stand this player up, that's a safe choice. And we have the catcher here as well. Now I could use the catcher here for the supporting blitz without having to risk the Ogre. So why don't we try that? Let's move the catcher here. Let's blitz with the blitzer. Okay, and we get this stumble. We'll push him here, and we'll follow. Down he goes. He gets knocked out. Let's see where the ball goes. Oh no, not knocked out, he's hurt. So I get +2 SPP for this player. The ball actually scatters in my direction, and I have to roll a 5 or more to catch. The game gives me the option to re-roll it. 5 is pretty high. That's a 33% chance. I don't think it's worth trying to re-roll. Ball scatters to here. And so now I could even try to pick up with my lineman here if I wanted. And if I did that, I would have to roll 4 or more to pick up the ball. And even doing that, I would then either have to try and dodge away. So let's not do anything about that just yet. Let's see what happens when we block here. Okay, we get the knockdown. That's nice. Let's push him that way. Let's follow. This player now can't move without dodging. Let's see. Let's risk the Ogre doing something. So please do not roll a 1. Okay, good. And we get the knockdown. Let's push him into this group of our players here and follow. Okay, that's very nice. So I have an option now. I could try to pick up and run, or I could just place my player next to the ball And then next turn, when these two stunned players get up, we could try to do something with the ball. And that would probably be safer. So let's put the player here. Because if we try to pick it up, we might just scatter it away over here and make it very easy for another player to pick it up. I mean, it is an option, and you know, it is possible to do it, so it's either way it's dice. Let's try and play it safe way here. Let's press end. Okay, here comes the enemy players. Uses his block skill then to use the both down against my player that doesn't have block. Same here. Takes a 1 die, has no rerolls. Guess the skull can't change that result. That's the problem here. Okay, so now all of these stunned players can get up. And they can actually move as well, but they have to subtract 3 from their movement. So I could use even my thrower here to come and pick up the ball and throw it to another player who then runs for the touchdown. For example, this player is in range. My catcher is knocked down, so that's not going to be an option. But let's see if that would work. So let's first stand up this lineman and stand up the catcher. I could attempt to even dodge the catcher out, but let's just stand him up. It's safer. We don't have to re-roll that. There's another player down here. Let's move him over here. And what this does here, this is called a screen. Because the enemy players can't go into these squares or out of them without having to roll dice, if they now want to go towards the ball, they would have to go around. And they would have to use up their movement allowance to try and go in this direction. So this player here is causing them an issue, basically. We'll stand this guy up as well. So let's take the thrower, and let's say, please, 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 pick up the ball. He picks up the ball. Now we can try to throw to the blitzer here. We'd have to roll a 3 or more for the pass, which we can re-roll. And then this player would have to roll 3 or more for the catch, which he doesn't have a skill to re-roll with, but we could use a team re-roll with. Let's see. Makes the throw, makes the catch. We're in the range of a touchdown. Off we run. And there we go. So now that there's a drive end, the players that were knocked out have a chance to get back up. And we see that in the roll here. If we click on this, we can see wake up after knockout. They have to roll 4 or more, 6 succeeded. My player, again, 4 or more, 6 succeeded. So players from both teams woke up from their knockouts, are back on the field. This injured player, though, is still off the pitch. And so now the enemy team has to play with 10 players rather than 11 like me, because I do not have any injured players. However, now we are playing defense after we score. So now the opponent gets their turn first. They get to hit the players on the front line first, and we kick the ball to them. Now they only have 3 turns, and for some teams, every team is different. Every team has different kinds of movement allowance and passing and things like this. For this kind of team, it's going to be difficult, I think, for them to score in 3 turns. So what we can do is we just try to set up in a kind of defensive way and make sure we have players around for different situations, blocking different parts of the pitch. Let's put this guy here. Let's put this guy here. Actually, that one is fine now that I think about it. Let's put this one here. Let's put you back to here. What this does, again, is we're just creating zones where enemy players can't just run through without first having to either knock down your player or make a dodge roll. And even if they do dodge through this gap here, there are still players here. So let's keep the thrower here. Let's keep the catcher in the back because he has high movement allowance. And we have to have a minimum of 3 players on the line of scrimmage, which is this line here. So we can't just put the ogre. We have to have 3, minimum of 3. And because the opponent gets to go first, generally we just want to put 3 because most of the time these players are going to get hit. Put more players there, that's more players that can get hit. So we're just going to put 3. Let's press confirm. We choose where to kick the ball. The blue X in the middle here is the sweet spot because, as we can see by all these arrows, the ball, when it's kicked, we do roll dice, and we roll dice for where it lands or where it scatters to. So it can go in any of these squares and these arrows. So putting it in the middle is the safest option because if the ball goes off the pitch, ooh, this is a nice one. We get the blitz outcome. If the ball goes off the pitch, the enemy team can just choose a player to receive the ball for free. No rolls needed. So we get the blitz outcome. So we actually get to go first. We get to do something first, which is quite funny. This is a very strong random event for the defenders. So now I can blitz these enemy players if I like and knock them down, and I'm going to reduce the damage that my own players are going to take in this case. We can even move our players around and try to start pressuring the enemy players here. Now I don't want to try and blitz the strength 4 pieces because I would need 3 players to get the 2 dice, which is not ideal. But I could move some blitzers up to block these 2, or block 1 with a blitz. Move another blitzer up to start screening. Move some other players up to start pressuring. And that way when the enemy team gets the ball, they're going to have to move their players too. We might be able to create an opening and even grab the ball again. Or at least put some pressure on them so that they can't just move freely around without having to worry. So let's blitz with this guy first. Okay, we get the both down or the push. I have 2 turns left. I'm not going to roll any more dice. Oh, this isn't actually my turn. This is just a blitz. So let's just push. And let's follow. And let's move the other blitzer here. The reason for this now is this player cannot block without having to roll red dice, which I get to choose the outcome of, unless they move more players in to provide the assists. So we're essentially tying up the line here. And we'll move this one here. Don't want it too close to the sideline here, because these players have frenzy, which means they get to block twice. So if I put the player here, and it gets blocked to here, and it gets blocked again, it's off the pitch. That's a pretty bad outcome for me. Let's move this player here. That way we'll support the player if they get frenzied. We'll move this one up here too. Again with a player behind for that support. We'll move the thrower over here. And the catcher to the left. The reason for that is just some kind of reliability on both sides of the pitch. If we skew too hard towards one side of the pitch, and the opposing team decides to go to the other side, now we have to remaneuver all over again, and we're at less of an advantage. The ball is in the middle, one square to the right, so it could go either way. Okay, picks up the ball. Goes for the blitz on my blocker. Gets pow and defender stumbles. Either one would have knocked my player down. Now he can get the 2 die on this player. Defender stumbles. Down my player goes. Okay. So now we're gonna do the reliable thing. So let's stand up some players. Stand up. Stand up. And let's see. We have a 2 die here. This is a 4 strength player, so not really going to get any 2 dies out of that without having 3 players there. Which is a little bit, it ties your players up. Against 1 player, you put 3 players here. That means you're missing players from the rest of the pitch. So let's just take the 2 die here first. Okay, this guy gets knocked down. And we'll follow that. And now at least, by having 1 player here, and 1 player here, if I block with my Ogre, and the Ogre boneheads, I will still have tackle zones here preventing players from just coming through the middle. So this is a little bit safer now for me to use my Ogre. But I'm still going to wait until the end of the turn to use him. So let's see what else we can do here. I can blitz this Berserker if I want. With my own blitzer here, if we get the assist. And then I might be able to move my catcher around to the left side. So let's see if we can do that. Let's put my lineman here at the back. So still moving him forwards a little bit, while then also still providing this supporting role. Let's see if we can push him into the back here. So we can do that if we blitz here. Okay, we only get the push. But if we push him here, and we stay, we still have movement available to us from the blitz, but we're not in the tackle zone. So I can now move this player even over here, if I want to try going for it, and why not? Let's try the going for it. Usually it's okay. There we go. We rolled a 4. And now we have a couple of players behind this line here, threatening the ball carrier in some way. Let's put this blitzer here to block this one. Let's put the lineman here, side by side with the blitzer, but also in the tackle zone of this player here. And let's put the... Now standing on the sideline here is a real easy way to get blitzed. So let's just move the thrower. Actually, I think over here, just in case the ball comes down this way. They do have 3 players here, and they would be able to run down this way. So let's put this thrower over here. And let's put the catcher around this side here. And we're just going to leave this player here because this would be a 2 red die block. And instead we'll just keep him here to annoy this Ulf Verner, make this guy have to block to get free. And that way we're kind of tying him up. Forgot to use my Ogre. Talking so much, it's okay. So in comes the ball carrier into the middle, quite close to my Ogre. So what I'm thinking immediately here is, if I block with my Ogre, I'm going to have 1 player already next to the ball carrier, which is quite good. Oh, so he blocked here. But because he has Frenzy, he has to block again. Now he's in a situation where I get to choose the dice. And I'm going to choose down for you. Uh-oh. That's not good. Now, to be honest, I only have 1 turn left. I think only my catcher can reach the end zone. And that's even with 2 GFIs. So there is a situation here where if I think carefully and I do things carefully, I might be able to get the ball free, pick it up with a player, pass it to the catcher, and run all the way down. But it's gonna take some real thinking. That's for sure. So let's, if we block with the Ogre, or do we block with the Blitzer? Blitzer only gets 1 die. This guy's tied up. There isn't really any way. We could bring a player in this way. Let's see. Lineman. Could GFI for the blitz on the ball carrier here. Not very reliable though. If I move the Ogre up though, I might be able to get the assist there. Or I might be able to then punch with the blitzer here. Get the assist on the ball carrier. So let's see how that goes. At the end of the day, the enemy team is not going to score from here in 1 turn, which is all they have left. So please, Mr. Ogre, do not roll a 1. Jolly good. So we get the defender stumbles. We'll push him here, and we'll follow. Stunned. Okay, so far so good. We'll block with the blitzer here. This is still a 1 die. That's unfortunate. So can I move anything up to get the assist here? It looks like it's a no. He is free. He is free. He can punch here. And he has sure hands, so I might want to use him to pick up the ball. So if we move this guy, not there, but here, he's the guy I could have used to blitz there. So it's like a puzzle. We're playing a puzzle game now, right? You see? This guy can blitz for the 1 die. And I do have a reroll. So why don't we just try... I mean, if I can get this one, then this would be a 2 die block. So let's put him here. Let's block with him for the 2 die. Gets the push. Let's push him away. And let's follow. And now we... Do we get the 2 die? Still 1 die. Let's block with him for the 1 die. Is there any other way? Can we blitz here? That would be a red die. That would be GFI. GFI, but a... Still 1 die. So let's use the blocker here. What do we get? We get a push. Push him this way. And we follow. Okay. And now we can use the blitzer, I think. For the 2 die. We do get the POW. He's gonna go here. No, not much. Unfortunately, my player caught it, and that's my last turn. Nothing else for me to do. That's the way the dice goes sometimes. Fortunately, I know there's no way for the opposing team to score at this stage, so... Not a super big deal. Oof. Gets the 1 die. No rerolls. This is the end of the half. Okay, and now this is the second half. We're again in defense because at the start, with the coin toss, we chose to be on offense. That means in the second half, we start on defense. I'm going to leave my players in the same position, I think. Let's just confirm. Okay, and we'll put it on the sweet spot. Okay, so the enemy team can move their players 1 square. Ball goes into the far left. So this is what we now think about when we're thinking about how we are going to move our players on our next turn. the opposing team is going to have to move a player all the way over here, try and pick up the ball, and they won't be able to move after that, so they'll be stuck at the back. So if we can kind of create an opening here and move through, then we'll be able to pressure the ball carrier. No failures on the picking up so far by the enemy team, which is quite surprising. Okay, gets the knockdown on that player, blocking this entrance here. So the enemy team is kind of concentrated into this area here. So if I stand this player up, and we just continue screening this. So if we put another player, we keep him here. I think. Keep him here. Put him here. And also the... yeah, let's keep the thrower here. What we'll do is we'll try to move some players around this side. And see if that will make the opponent, move some of their own players. Or we could go for a blitz here. Or here. This ogre could block, which would be reasonably good in some ways, moving the ogre forward a bit. Don't want to forget my catcher in the back. So let's move the catcher here. And we're going to get the 2 die here. Okay. And we do get the knockdown. Let's move him next to the ogre, and we'll follow. This is stun. Now we can move the blitzer here for the 2 die. Okay, and we get the knockdown. Let's move him to the right side, and let's follow. He's knocked out. That's a good outcome. And now we can even move him forwards even more, thanks to his blitz. We'll put this lineman, let's say, let's put him here for now. That way, if this 4th strength player wants to block either of these players, it's only going to be a 1 die. And that it has, a higher chance of being a problem. And let's see how reliable this ogre wants to be. Don't roll a 1. Doesn't roll the 1. Only gets the push though. Let's push him to the left and not into the zone of the blitzer. Let's follow. So this way now they're concentrated on the left side, but we've created an opening then on the right side to move players through. So let's see what happens now. AI is thinking. Yeah, of course, moves it down to the left side. And that's because they're kind of being pressured and forced to move it to the left side. Because they put all their players there. Not all, but most. And so then we've created this opening on the right. Moving the ball to the right side would be a bad idea. Has to move to the left side. And so now they're moving players away from this bunched up side on the left. So now this frenzy player is stuck between 3 of my own players. Alright, let's see what we've got. We've got 2 free players here. If we knock this one down, we actually have an opening here. Look at this. Tackle zone, but this player's gone. This is all open here to run through and maybe get a blitz. So if we stand this guy up and we stand this guy up too. And we block with this guy, we would get 2 die. This guy can also move already for the blitz, but it would only be a 1 die. This is holding this player just fine. So what if we... Now we can move players through here if we get this block here. And if we get another player here and we blitz, we would get 2 die on the ball carrier. So let's hope that this goes well. It does go well. We'll put him there. And we're not going to follow either. Reason we're not following is then we still get the 2 die here. If we move this guy away, we would only have equal strength for the 1 die. This is a 4 strength player. So now I can move the thrower to here. And I'm going to move the catcher into a supporting position too, but not into a tackle zone. So let's put him... Let's stop this player from moving. Let's put him here. That way, if he wants to move, he has to come around this way. Or I could just base him. What do we want to do? Let's see what happens first with the blitz. Do have to go for it. Okay. Get the both down or the push. Do have 3 rerolls, so I could reroll this if I wanted. Let's see what happens. Get the both down or the skull. Have to take the both down. Both players have block. Nothing will happen. It was worth a try. So now the enemy player with the ball is still standing, but 2 of my players are next to him. Now we have to find a way to stop the enemy players from moving to help and getting these players out of the way. So I would want to move this guy away, down if I can. Move my catcher here. We'd be able to block these tackle zones. This player can not reach there, but he can reach here, or even... no. So we'll put him here. Then he's blocking this guy from moving for free. We could move the ogre, but if he boneheads, then we lose the tackle zone. This player can move for free. So maybe I won't do anything with him now. We do have the 1 die there, which is a little bit risky. We'll try it. Let's see. We get the POW here. Let's knock him down. Let's stay standing. Okay. Let's see what happens here. Both down. My player has block. Oof. Beautiful. Get the knockdown. Knockdown, knockout. Okay. So that player's gone now, actually. I freed up a whole other player to use as I like. I think I would like to put him on this corner here. So now the enemy team is down 3 players. And I'm not down any players. So we're playing 11 versus 8. So I have a pretty strong advantage now. Even though this is the offensive drive for the opposing team, it's quite likely to turn around at this stage. Okay, goes for the blitz on my blitzer, but only 1 die, only gets the push. So the guy with the ball still is in a tackle zone, makes the dodge though. This guy has to block, only gets the push. Well, doesn't have to block, but he has to block or dodge. And the blocking was the better option for him. Gets the knockdown on my lineman. Stunned. The 1 die, only the push on this lineman. Okay, so what have we got now? We could actually block this guy with a blitz fairly easily. Let's see, what can we do? We would only get a 1 die there. Only get a 1 die there. This would also be 1. This would be red. Ogre could knock this guy down. So looks like if we want to get 2 dice on this runner, we would have to use the thrower for the assist. So this guy being stunned frees this guy up, but I have my Blitzer free now, so I'll move my Blitzer up into the... as a kind of replacement. Okay. Put the thrower on the corner here. Run the Blitzer in for the 2 die. Hopefully this time we can knock the ball carrier down. Yes, we do. Beautiful. Push him this way and follow. Out goes the ball. It catches the ball as well. This is going very well. So now if we blitz with the ball carrier, we can't throw after that. So I can't throw this ball to anyone. But I can still move him a bit. So what I would look to do now is move him into the kind of safest position I can. Now I could even put him here or here to allow this Blitzer to get the 2 die block, which is an interesting choice. Let's see if we still have a reroll even if we fail the going for it. So let's see how that goes. But then if this player stands up, he will also be providing an assist. So let's put him here instead. Okay. Gets a 2. Pretty close. Now we can block with this guy with the 2 die. Get the knockdown. Let's move him not next to the ball carrier, but over here, and we'll follow. Okay. So now we have a slight, let's say, half cage around the ball carrier. What else can we do around here? We have the Ogre. He is providing a tackle zone here. So I would like to keep him, actually. This tackle zone is preventing these guys from just dodging away and running up here. This would be a 1 die. This would be a 1 die. This would be a 1 die. But we can reroll it. And he has block, whereas this player doesn't have block, so I can take a both down. So let's try. Gets the knockdown anyway. Let's leave him next to my players anyway, and let's follow. Get the stun, okay. So now I do have a free player again. How far can we get him? We could get him here. Or we could put him even here to allow this player to block. What do we think? Move closer to the ball or allow more blocking? I think probably here it's better. And we can't dodge the catcher out. Let's just leave it like this. So now we have the ball in the opponent's half of the pitch, and there are 3 players down. It's looking pretty good. He has to dodge out, makes the dodge, has to roll the 1 die, gets the skull, re-rolls it, okay, gets the POW. Okay, ball scatters out. Still okay. He had to use a reroll to do that. Only 1 reroll left for 4 turns, 1 reroll. Picks up the ball with a different player. Again, that's okay. Still have 2 players free here. Can still get another blitz onto the ball carrier. So let's stand players up first. Okay, this guy didn't stand up because he was stunned, so we still have another free blitzer here as well. Can move this lineman here. Now we have to think, where do we want to... We're going to blitz this guy. Where do we want to blitz him to? So I could move here and blitz, and that allows me to push him into these 3 squares here. So let's put my lineman here. Now I'm not gonna stand up the catcher just yet, because if I stand him up and do something with another player, he can't move. But at the moment, he still has the option to move, and we might be able to scatter the ball out and move him to pick up the ball. Maybe. So let's do the blitz. Okay, we get the knockdown. We'll push him here, and we'll follow. Oof, another knockout. Now, we're getting so many more knockouts compared to the enemy team because they only have armor 7. Armor 7. So I only have to roll higher than 7 to be able to get the stunned, knockout, or injured outcome. So I have a choice now. I can try to pick up with my Blitzer, who has block, which makes it harder to knock him down. Or I can try to dodge out my catcher, who does have dodge, to pick up this ball. If I leave the Blitzer here, I would be able to get the 2 die onto this guy as well. So let's leave him here. And let's see what other 2 dies we have. We have one here. We have one from the Blitzer here. The problem with this though is that in this situation we could move to these 3 squares. These 2 are occupied. It would have to be this one. And if we block and it's only a push, then there's a player next to the ball, which is not great. So let's do this guy first. Let's see, how does this go? So we can choose both down or push. He has block, I don't, so we push. Let's push him next to my ogre. That's nice. Have a free player here. So I can choose to move him or keep him here, tying this Ulf Verina up when he inevitably stands up next turn. Or I could move him here and get the 2 block die here, freeing my catcher up to not have to dodge into the ball. Maybe. Let's try that. Let's put him here. Let's block with him. Okay, only the push, so we're not gonna get the no tackle zone. Let's see if this guy can dodge and pick up the ball. Makes the dodge, fails the pickup. I could re-roll this pickup if I wanted. But at the same time, I still have 4 turns left in a pretty good situation. Is this a critical action? I would say no. So I'm just going to skip. Now I do have to end my turn here, but the ball is still fairly safe. The enemy players are still pretty much tied up. He used his last reroll there to knock down my Blitzer, so my opponent now has no rerolls left for this turn and for the next 3 turns, which is quite good for me. Okay, gets the POW. And there's the skull, can't re-roll it. That's the end of his turn. So this is why we really want to think carefully about when we use our re-rolls. I still have 2 left for 4 turns. So for any of these critical actions to make these plays that you really want to make, then you keep the re-rolls for those and not just for any old thing. So let's stand up the players. Stand up. That's a Blitzer and that's a lineman, so we can blitz this guy. That's the thrower. So we do actually have a 2 die here already. And if we 2 die this guy and we knock him down, and then we blitz this guy, we free the thrower to pick up the ball because the thrower has safe hands, right? So let's see how that goes. Anyone else to stand up? No. So please give me the good dice. We don't get the good dice. You can still push him away. And we can still blitz here. But it would only be a 1 die. So why don't we try blocking this guy first? Okay, we get the both down, unfortunately. And we could try then with this guy anyway. Okay, there we go. He goes down. We'll push him this way. And we'll follow. This guy will be free then next turn. Can get the 2 die here. Can get the 1 die there. Keeping the ogre here because he actually does something. He's got 2 guys in his tackle zone, and by trying to use him, I would risk him not doing that. And at the moment, this is fairly useful, or definitely more useful than him doing nothing. And so that's why I'm not using him. Even though it's only a 1 to fail that, it happens at the worst times. So I'm not doing it. So we got this guy here. We're just going to stand him up to block this tackle zone. And we'll try to use the blitzer to pick up the ball, because he's the only guy not in a tackle zone. So let's see, we have the 2 die here to push this guy back. Let's try that first. Okay, we get the both down. I don't have block, which is a bit of a problem. So this is where now I will use my reroll. And we get the POW instead. We'll push him this way, and we will follow. There we go. Okay. So now if I want to stop this guy moving next turn, I would still need to keep a guy here. Or I can move him into this zone here to kind of screen the ball anyway. So let's see, if I move him here, we would actually also get a 2 die on this guy with the catcher. Let's try that. Let's move him here. I don't have any rerolls now for this turn though. So hopefully this isn't too bad. We just get the push. Let's push him away. And let's stay here. Okay, and we'll ask the blitzer very nicely. Please don't roll a 1 or a 2. Rolls a 6, okay. And let's put him here. He has 7 movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 1 GFI, he would be able to get it. So, you know what, let's just move him 1 more forwards. That way, next turn, if he's free, he can reach the touchdown line without having to roll any dice. Has Frenzy, so gets to do it again. Gets the POW. But that's it, that's all he can do. Now it's my turn. And my guy is in range for the touchdown line. Off we go. Wonderful. Okay, and so now we are back to setting up in defense. The 2 knockouts here didn't get up, which is unfortunate for the enemy team. So they are still down to 8 players versus my 11. And with that being the case, I could probably afford to be a bit more aggressive on the front line here. So why don't I just try moving a blitzer here. And so all of these blitzers actually have SPP. Now this is something we think about, is putting players into these risky situations risks them getting blocked and risks them getting injured and maybe also dying. And so when we look at our players and we want to put some into risky positions, you know, we consider all the normal things with the skills they have, their strength, so on. But then we also want to think about how much SPP do they have, because keeping players that have SPP, they have a higher chance to level up and get more skills. So if they die, we're kind of losing more than just the player, we're also losing the SPP that they gained. So I'm looking at my players here, my blitzers, that I could move on to the front line. And they all have SPP, and I don't really want to lose that, so I'm thinking maybe we just keep the old setup, and I'll even move my thrower a bit closer, and my catcher a bit closer too, because this has been fine. And we'll confirm setup. There's only 2 turns left for both of us, so... Okay, this is another outcome, -1 to all passing. Again, the opposing team has no re-rolls left. If they block and they get the skulls, that's it, turnover. Try to pick up and fail, that's it, turnover. Okay, rolls a 6 on the pickup. Only the push, but he does have Frenzy. He's gonna have to follow this up. By follow up, I mean he has to move forwards, and now he's next to the Ogre. Which is good for me. The Ogre will tie that up, make it difficult for him to move away. Now, unless there is some amazing, incredible miracle happening here, there's not much chance of me scoring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if I put a blitzer here, there's a chance that if I get the ball, I can pass it to him and he can score. So we'll put him here. Hopefully he makes a GFI. He does. GFI means going for it. And let's do the same with this guy too. So we have 2 options. I'll put this guy here. And we'll blitz him. We'll stand this player up. We'll put the catcher could put the catcher here, and then we'll do some blocking with 2 dice there. Can put this guy here for blocking as well. Or here to prevent this from being too advantageous for him. Let's block the strength 4 player. Let's blitz this guy and see how it goes. This is why we keep the rerolls. Now actually I only have 1 player left to move, but he would be down. You know, let's take it and see if we need that reroll for some magic on the next turn. There's the skull. Okay. So then. Can move this guy here, and we can get the 2 die on this guy, which gives us an opening here. Okay. And 2 die with my blocker in case we get the both down. Push him here, and we follow. And now I can blitz here for the 2 die. If we get the ball, we can... No, not if he gets the ball, but if we can get the ball, how would we get the ball? Thrower here could come in as well. Okay. Options. Could also instead blitz here, and he might be able to catch it and throw it to him, Or we move the thrower to catch the ball. Let's see. Okay, we don't get the POW, but that's what I kept the reroll for. Well, we can push him this way, and we follow. And we still got one more blocking attempt here. So, six dies the charm. No, it's not. But that's it. Those are our glory scoring options over. Finito. So I'll just try block with the ogre, end the turn, and that will be... There's the bonehead that we all know and love. So I think that will probably be it. We could get another 2 die here. Could get no, can't get a 2 die there. So move him here. And we'll just take a couple of 2 die blocks before the end. Maybe we'll get an injury, some extra SPP. Not there. Right here. Nope, just stunned. I mean, I could take the 1 die, but he does have block. Could try to dodge here, that would be a 5+. Probably not the best option. I could GFI to here for the 2 die, let's see. Okay, he makes it. Now we've got the 2 die. Gets the POW. And nothing. Okay, so all done. End the turn. We win 2-0. Now it calculates all the outcomes of all the other matches for the AI teams. We get some XP for playing the match. We get a 1d6 for our winnings, so depending on how high this is, tells you how much you will get in winnings, which you can spend then on rerolls, apothecary, more players if you lost any. That's okay. Got some fan factor. Okay. And we also get an MVP. And the MVP gets 5 SPP for free. So my Blitzer got this 5 SPP for free. We have a look at the SPP here. These are all my players that got SPP, so the MVP. And then the other guys that got touchdowns or armor breaks or actually the successful pass also gives you 1 SPP. We get the results, tells us some information, how many times we broke armor. We can look at some more in-depth statistics. And we can even look at all the dice rolls that we made and how successful they were. So our armor held up about as much as it should. Was only 1 roll to wake up after knockout. We made it. Made all the going for it, which was nice. Made 3 out of 4 catches. Failed 2 out of 3 dodges, which is not great. But made 3 out of 4 catches, which is better than usual. And the bonehead was about actually exactly as it should be, 1 in 6. Okay. And only 50% on the passing, which is not great. 11 sixes and 16 ones. And we can even look at the block dice that we rolled. But that's it. That's the basics of the game as we play it. I hope that helps you understand the the different statistics, the strength, the agility, what they affect. Then how we actually play the game or how we think about the game when we're playing it, and trying to make the probability in our favor by taking 2 or 3 dice if we can get it, and moving players into the right position to give us that assist, to give us those 2 dice for blocking, and also doing the most reliable things first and the least reliable things last. So things like standing up players and moving them before doing any dice rolls. That's going to be it for this video, guys. I hope that helps. It's a very enjoyable game when the dice aren't too terrible. So I hope this can help you to enjoy it too. But from me, that's goodbye. So thanks for coming, and come back next time.